Karina Briño, President and CEO of the Mining Association of British Columbia.
What does the Mining Association of British Columbia do?
We represent the producers of coal, metals, smelters, and industrial minerals in BC.
You meet with a lot of miners in your industry right now. What are they telling you within the industry? What are some of the concerns that your members are bringing to you?
The priorities and the focus for members of the Mining Association is really on the regulatory process, the predictability of the system, the transparency in terms of how the project approval process is conducted, the timeliness of decisions, and our ability to continue to be a key contributor to the province. So our interest is in really retaining British Columbia's reputation as a good jurisdiction in which to mine.
How do you manage the regulatory piece? What are the actions that they specifically like to see action, and then what are the recommendations that you make?
What we have been focusing on is working with the provincial government and the regulators from a collaboration perspective in terms of understanding how decisions are being made. We believe that the regulatory system in BC is quite rigorous. It works well. But the challenge is sometimes understanding how the process is actually conducted. So we meet with government on a regular basis, in particular here with the provincial government. We also do advocacy with the federal government, sometimes through our counterparts in our sister organization in Ottawa, the Mining Association of Canada, but we also meet with the federal government directly as well. So our interest is in a predictable process, science-based decisions, timeliness again, and having a very good understanding of who's doing what in government and what all the how all the players come together and how they fulfill their own mandates and how they're accountable for their own for delivering on their mandates as well.
What are the miners telling you about the human resource situation right now? Are they able to find qualified personnel?
It's actually interesting. Over the last few months, and I participated in the Putting BC to Work, the CKNW and BC summit that was organized in the spring. The mining sector is in a situation right now where today we have seen some operations go into care and maintenance, obviously because of prices and other challenges that the industry is facing, in particular on the coal sector. But the long term, the outlook for BC is quite positive, and if all of the projects that we have in the regulatory queue right now, if all of them get approved, we're looking at thousands of workers that are going to be needed, in particular in the trades and those with technical specialties and education. So the opportunity is there. There is definitely going to be a need for tradespeople, and there is definitely going to be a need for technical people.
Do we have that capacity yet? Are people being interested in, or is with the low commodity prices, are they not? Is people still interested in other? Do we have visibility right now, would you say?
I think we do. I think we do in terms of the prospects. I mean, I think everyone understands that mines don't get built overnight, so the need is not going to be there like immediately tomorrow, even though there are some specialties in some areas where that is the case. But over the long haul and over, sort of the wide range of workers that are going to be needed for the industry, we have the opportunity to create that labor force and to create that capacity over the next few years.
You've spoken at a lot of events talking about the importance of mining to British Columbia economy and what it produces to us. You've been speaking in a way to the resource sector and to chambers and things like that. What about the larger audience in BC? Obviously, with some of the developments and also some of the setbacks with the mines that we've had, and also pipelines development. What is the outreach to the larger community actually explaining, and also what is the strategy for doing that in terms of explaining why mining is important to British Columbia?
We've just come out of what we call Mining Week celebrations, which is really an event that spreads out over 4 to 5 weeks actually. And I had the opportunity to speak at approximately 23 events, reaching out to about 10,000 British Columbians. So our interest is in having this conversation about the importance of mining and why we think everybody needs to be part of this conversation. We have the ability to reach out to a very broad range of British Columbians across the province. I mean, we've been to Smithers, Kamloops, even Kelowna, where you wouldn't necessarily think of Kelowna as a mining jurisdiction, but the suppliers community there is so important that mining does have a very significant impact in a region where we don't have any major operating mines. So I was in Cranbrook, we had events in Sparwood, Williams Lake. There were even some events being held in Nelson and Caslow. So across BC, there is a very, very strong interest from the public in participating in this discussion about what does mining mean to our province.
Is there a difference the way that mining is perceived in the interior as opposed to the Lower Mainland here?
I mean, in any I guess any of our industries face that challenge. You know, where the activity is taking place, people tend to be more aware. They're closer to it. They likely know people who are working at a mine site in a small town. Whereas here in British Columbia, we're very quick to take advantage of all of the benefits that the mining industry brings, but we don't really think about where things come from. So as part of my deliveries during Mining Week, for example, we were talking about, the contributions of the mining sector to the healthcare system. And I'm not just talking about financial contributions, but also the products, like the things that go into medical treatments, or into medical equipment. There was copper and silver and moly and coal in most of the things that our healthcare system depends on. So, to make steel, most of the instruments that are used in the healthcare system are made of steel, and that comes from coal. In Vancouver in particular, we have a tendency as a city to think that coal's really not great for us. So those are the conversations that we're interested in having, because I think that's really when we're going to get into some meaningful discussion about mining and why I should care.
Who do you have those conversations with, and in which venue do you have them with?
Very different audiences. We've been to every single local government association convention over in the spring. I gave a speech at the Vancouver Board of Trade, but anyone who's interested in talking to us, we participate in those discussions. So it's really anyone from small businesses, local governments, economic development groups. I participated in a women's event in Cranbrook. So it really depends on who's interested in learning more about the mining industry. We're definitely keen to talk to them.
Before you came to the MABC right now, you were working for the provincial government. What do how do miners perceive the provincial government and the regulatory bodies? What are the misperceptions, you would say?
Well, I mean, I think as an industry, we have, for the most part, enjoyed a very good relationship with governments, whether it's provincial or federal, in terms of information exchanges and understanding what the rules of the game are, if you're going to call it that way, in terms of what's required to get a project approved. Definitely over the last decade, we've seen a government that is very focused in economic development and resource development. The jobs plan that was launched, I think, in 2010 or September of 2011 is focused on mining. It has some even targets in there that are obviously something that we're interested in. But as I said, speaking to elected officials, we find a very good understanding of what the mining sector contributes to the province. So What are some of the challenges? Again, it's on the administration of process, it's in the timeliness of decisions, and the clarity around what's in and what's out in terms of the scope of our review.
Thank you very much, Karina. Briño.
Thank you.